You know, as we give tonight too, something really cool that we have that's different and unique to tonight is that tonight, rather than just one of us coming and giving a talk tonight we're going to have a conversation with a few individuals here on this stage because we've been in a series for the past few weeks called Live, Love, Lead. And if you've been here, you've heard us talk about how we want to learn to live, love, and lead like Jesus in our everyday and beyond just our everyday, beyond just ourselves to people around us. And we talked first week about learning to lead sacrificially and humbly in such a way that we show Jesus towards other people. And we talked also about how Jesus calls us to go places. He calls us to go places with his message. And so what we're doing tonight is part of that. As we send the hope of Jesus, we are literally sending our money, our gifts around the world to bless people. And we also talked about last week how we should love people relentlessly. We should pursue people relentlessly with the love of Jesus like he has pursued us, which is so crazy, so awesome, so radical. And so tonight what we want to do is we want to have a conversation because sometimes we can talk a lot about like, this is what God's called us to do. But tonight I want to make it super practical for each one of you. Super practical of like, hey, this is what this can look like for you to live, love, and lead like Jesus in your everyday situations, circumstances in your home, your school, and around the world. And so we're going to have a conversation about that. And so for that, I need y'all to give it up for my friends that are coming up on the stage, Sean, Bailey, and John. Y'all give it up for them. Come on, come on, come on. So y'all know Sean. He was just dressed up as a waffle, right? And he's been working here with our student team for a long, long time. Sean actually came here as a sophomore in high school.
I was here starting in like 5th grade.
Oh, wow, okay.
So quite some time. But
then you
really
kinda
like junior year.
Yeah, junior year, start coming here. And then Bailey Cook, you guys just got to meet her.
Yeah, Bailey.
I don't know what you do, Bailey, but like everyone loves you. Wow.
She's just the MVP.
Wow.
MVP.
Okay.
Amazing.
Maybe we just need to have you up here more. Okay.
Yes.
But Bailey, she grew up here. How old were you when you started coming here?
I was in middle school.
Middle school when you started coming to Wake. Wow, awesome. And now she's in college. I'm gonna scoot this chair closer. I feel a little distant. I want to be close to you guys, and I'm gonna like turn to you as well. And then John, John's one of our proteges right now. Y'all give it up for John too.
Appreciate that one. Thanks, guys.
Woo.
So John, he has really awesome dreads, in case you haven't realized that. And so he also likes to be called John Dreadwords, and so that's how you can call him.
John Dreadwords.
And he also loves superheroes.
That is very true.
He's a Marvel fan.
Super into it.
Yeah.
So much.
But hey, so I want to get things going, okay? First question I have for you guys. We're going to have a conversation. And so students, I want you to lean in and really think about how you can take what we talk about tonight and really begin to live that out practically for you in your everyday. And so we're going to have some really cool conversations. But to kick things off, this is what I want to ask you. Tomorrow is Halloween. And so what is the weirdest, craziest Halloween costume that you have ever rocked? Go for it.
So it's actually really funny that you messed that up. So I grew up, I had a super sheltered life, like wasn't allowed to do Halloween, like still not really sure what a Pokemon is, but like I just didn't know what any of that stuff was. Wasn't allowed to do it. So college was my first chance for me to dress up and do anything for Halloween. So I wake up and I decide, I put on like a nice kind of shoe, like nice pants, nice shirt, and underneath I have like one of those like muscle shirts with a Superman emblem on it.
Yeah.
So I'm like Clark Kent, like I've got the
Superman.
fake hipster glasses and everything. I had one dread come down, it was a good time. And and so I walk into my first class of the day, 8:30, college, freshman, is great. Rip open the shirt, pop a button, and was just like, happy Halloween, everyone. My teacher, without looking up, goes, it's October 30th, Halloween's tomorrow.
Oh my God.
So you just got it completely wrong.
Yeah, I'm still there. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, John, today is
Still
not
recovering.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
That was good to know.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, what about you guys? Who else got something?
Well, I don't know if this is the weirdest Halloween costume to you guys, but to me it was pretty weird. When I was growing up, I didn't really like Disney princesses. And my mom made me dress up as Snow White, and I think we have a picture of it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I wasn't
You are
really
angry.
happy.
I don't know if I've ever seen you that mad, ever.
I was
Wow.
real mad.
Okay. I think you need to take that down. That's kind of scary. So, okay, cool. All right,
People-
Sean,
people
what
are gonna
about
start
you?
leaving. Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. My mom, growing up, liked to make my costumes. Anybody's moms make their costumes?
Create your own.
Just
Some of y'all-
mine.
Whose
Cool.
mom made your costume tonight?
Sweet. Just mine. Cool.
Okay,
Awesome.
I
All
got
right.
you.
So here's the thing about that. My mom thrives every year in making my costumes when I was little. So I got some real fun pictures that I get to
Okay.
look back on.
I like it.
And so what I want to do is I want to share one like
Whoa.
this. Yep. I'm going to tell you what it is in a second. But before I do, I would love for y'all to try and take a guess at what am I? Yeah, none of you are right. I
Hear
promise.
a few cats.
All right. See,
Cat in the hat.
it looks like I'm trying to be It the Clown mixed with a low production Catwoman, but that's not what I am. I'm actually the big bad wolf. And here's the
You're
thing.
not big or bad in this.
I'm not big or bad. I'm terrifying. I liked it then, I guess, because I was smiling. But right when I got with the rest of my costume, which was my dad and his two friends, they were the three little pigs. We have a picture. Go ahead and throw that up there. Yeah. Look how terrified I am.
That looks like a picture out of like a horror movie, like
Oh,
in the
it's
opening credit. The
Oh,
opening
it's definitely
scene,
a
like,
horror. I am the star of that horror movie.
Wow,
So that's my costume.
that's scary. That's really scary.
terrifying.
Okay, well, let's dive in. You know, one of the things that we talk a lot about here, especially at Wake, here at Stonecreek Church, is we use these words. You may see it around the building. You may hear us talk about it. But we say these words a lot: courageously go, right? And for us, we believe that Jesus has called us to courageously go beyond where we are so that people can hear about him. He calls us to go and make disciples, to go and lead people so that they can know Jesus, follow Jesus, and lead others to do the same. And so what does that mean, like practically for yourself on an everyday, daily basis? When you hear those words, courageously go, how does Sean, Bailey, John live that out, and how can we as middle school and high schoolers in the room do that as well?
Yeah. So one thing for me, so as a lot of you guys know, I have a part-time job at Chick-fil-A, which is,
Yeah. Holy
Yes.
cow. Holy
Yes.
cow.
Wow.
I love it. Yeah, it's fantastic. Highly recommend. So, I mean, when you're serving the Lord's chicken, automatically you're on mission, right? But a lot of you guys how many of you have part-time jobs now, right? If you don't, then you probably will in the next few years. But with part-time jobs, you come in contact with dozens, if not like hundreds of people every day.
Yeah.
And not only that, but then you also come in contact with some people every single day, the people that you work with. And this is just a really great opportunity for just the way that you work, the way you show up to work, the way that you do things when you think no one's watching, like that way that you just go beyond what is the expectation and just go above and beyond can really make some huge efforts. So it's not that I'm saying like I evangelize every single person who comes through the drive-thru, right? But when I'm cleaning tables, when I'm cleaning the bathroom, when I'm serving people, like doing it with a smile on my face, asking how their day's going, being genuine about caring about them, right? And then you get those moments where you make those connections, right? So there's some people who come in every day, or there's one guy who I got to work with. He actually trained me, but getting to know him a little bit better, found out he wasn't really a Christian, doesn't really know much about that stuff, and just was able to fight for that relationship over a whole year, praying for him, inviting him to church, him constantly being too tired or too busy to go, all this
Y'all
sort of
been
stuff.
there before? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it
But
happens.
you kept on.
Literally every single week. He almost blocked me, but that's fine. And so then it got to one point, I actually invited him to the men's retreat that happened just about a month ago. And he's like, fine, I'll go. Went to the men's retreat, gave his life to Jesus,
Wow,
and then a
let's
week
go.
later
Let's go.
got to baptize him. And wow, what a difference. Like,
Yeah. So it was in the everyday things of how you were just trying to love like Jesus, and the way that you lived your life was different. It stood out, and so other people saw that and then were drawn to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just one of those things where whether I was in the leadership position or if I was literally taking orders from my boss or from people coming in, like just doing it happily, like with the attitude of service and just going forth with that.
Yeah, and so when you end up having part-time jobs, which you should and probably will, when that
Chick-fil-A.
happens for you, I think God's going to open up the door for you to have conversations with people that you probably never thought that you would. I know for me, working in restaurant as an 18-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, and 18-year-old, all the way through college, but God opened up the doors for me for so many conversations, and so oftentimes the conversation started like this: you're different. There's something different about you. And so you live in such a way where people notice that you are unique, that you've got this joy, this smile about you, will then open up the door for conversation for you to be able to then tell people about Jesus there in your workplace and in different places as well. So something really cool. Y'all, anyone else have something on that?
Yeah, so when I think courageously go and every day, I think school, because we're in school a lot. I'm a college student. I know y'all are in school, obviously. But what that looked like for me was a little different because I'm not, as you probably can tell, I'm not super comfortable with stepping out of my shell and breaking out into like the uncomfortable spaces. So that looked like help lead a Bible study in a public school. I went to Creekview, and so public school.
Creekview people in the house?
Yeah.
Let's go. Y'all got to rep when she says Creekview. Y'all got to, get ready to throw down. All right.
But so yeah, every Wednesday we'd have a Bible study, and we'd just get to spend time praying together and reading God's word together, and it changed the trajectory of my entire high school year. And then after that, we would get to ride together and come to Wake every Wednesday. And so it was something that I got to look forward to. And I mean, being in school, a public school at least, is like, it's pretty dark places. So it was a really good picture of what it looks like to bring light into the darkness.
Yeah.
So.
What does that look like practically for them? Like, if I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool to start a Bible study, what does that look like? How did you start that?
Well, it definitely took some conversations. We had to get with administration, obviously, and make sure, like, hey, is this allowed? Can we do this? But the conversations opened up really cool opportunities to share the gospel. And then I had an English teacher that was right next door, and she would jump in on our Bible studies and, like, sit and listen and stuff. And she would take the notes that we would pass around and hang them up in our classroom. Which was really cool because then students every single day are constantly reading scripture over themselves in a public school system, which is awesome.
That's cool. I like that a lot. That's really cool. What about, okay, so we talk about what God does in you is not meant to stay just in you. It's meant to move beyond you to the people around you. And most of the time, what the first people that you interact with after you leave places like this are your parents and your brothers and your sisters as you go home. And Jesus has called us to reach our homes first and foremost as we live like him in our houses. And so what does that look like courageously going into your home for students as well?
Yeah, I think before I even talk about what that looks like for me, I just want to acknowledge it's probably the hardest place to go and talk about Jesus, right? Like, you're with your family and your brothers and sisters, and it can be really difficult to talk about Jesus. I know for me, it was really difficult to talk to my parents about Jesus at first, and that the last thing that I wanted to do when I got home after going to school and doing whatever throughout the day was sit down and tell them about what God's doing in my life. I just wanted to go to my room, sleep, not talk to anybody, right? But it took until the moment that I realized that if I claim to follow Jesus and I can't live it out in one place in my life, being my house, then what am I doing with my faith? What does that look like? And so I realized that my house, I can be the greatest evangelist for my house, right? I can be the greatest light for my house. And students, I want for you each to know, you can be the greatest light in your household, and you can be the person that tells the other people in your house about Jesus when they may not even hear it, especially if they don't know him. And so one way that I did that was I was passionate about mission. I was passionate about going on mission trips and serving people, and that's because that's what changed my life, which I'll talk about later. But I wanted my parents to experience that, and I felt like if they experienced what I had experienced in the way God moves through mission, then maybe their lives would change too. And so I begged them, not just asked, I begged them to come on a mission trip with me. And both of them came to Guatemala with me a few years ago, and man, it changed the course of our family. It really did. They started coming to church every Sunday. They started supporting my career in ministry. They started talking about the Bible with me. It's easy for me to pray around them now because what happened is they were able to see, hey, serving in that kind of capacity opens up the doors for life change. And so they got out of their rhythms and God changed their lives. And so it was awesome, really cool.
That's awesome. That's so cool, Sean. That's really cool. I think, Bailey, you've got a really cool story with that too, because you've got 3 siblings too. And so what does that kind of look like for you in your home as well?
Yeah, so I have 3 younger siblings. 2 of them come here to Wake, and I actually got to baptize 2 of them.
That's so
here
cool.
at Wake,
Awesome.
which was really awesome. But yeah, that just kind of took me like just the courage to step out of your comfort zone and to invite the people that you're closest to into the life change that you've been experiencing. So it just, everything that I was experiencing here at Wake every Wednesday night, I was like, wow, I have 3 younger siblings, 2 of which are the age that could come here.
Yeah.
I want to invite them in on this too. And it was crazy that I hadn't yet. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. You know, for me too, when I was in high school, I was coming to church every single week, and I was serving, and I was doing all of these what I thought were awesome things. And one day I come home, and I had been doing all this stuff all weekend. I was helping out at this retreat and things, and I come home, and my mom sits me down, and she was like, "Hey, Joe, so I just need you to know something that I've observed, okay? You talk about how much you love Jesus, and you talk about, like, I see you at church and you're raising your hands and you're serving and you're doing all these awesome things, but then you come home and you are so rude to your brother, and like you are mean to him. Like, I'm talking like mean. Like, he wanted to learn to play the guitar, and I was like, you are terrible at guitar, like not any good. And now he like does that for a living, which is awesome. But she called me out and was like, hey, you are not nice to your siblings, and like to your brother and your sister, and so for me it was like this gut check of like, oh my gosh, like wait, yeah, you're right. Like, I'm going and I'm saying I love Jesus and doing all these things, but then I come home and I'm someone completely different. And it's what changed in my family and for myself is when I started to actually love my brother and sister too. They wanted to be a part of then what I was a part of, and they wanted to come and be a part of everything I was experiencing too. And it changed our family, it changed our relationship forever. And so, man, your home, so important in how you reach people and all of that. What about, so last week, Jordan talked about loving people that honestly sometimes it can seem just like crazy, like how can you love them? And when he told this powerful story of Hosea and Gomer, and sometimes there's people at school too, where, man, maybe you had relationships and you had friendships, and those relationships got torn, and maybe when you started following Jesus, you thought, like, I can't be friends with them anymore, and I can't talk to them anymore, and maybe you've distanced yourself, or there's people that you know, like, mess up all the time, and you know are just running from God, running from church, want nothing to do with you and what you do either. How can you love those people that sometimes can seem so hard to love?
Yeah, I think it's a few ways. We talk about like the command that Jesus gives us to love people, right? But a lot of times when we talk about that or we think about that verse, we just think, oh, I need to love my enemies, which is a hard enough thing on its own. And like, yeah, that's true. But I think when we just think about it in that way, we're missing out on what God's saying there. I think that it's so much bigger than that. See, I think what Jesus is calling us to do is to love the people who don't have anyone to love, right? Like, there's people that are at our schools who don't feel like they have a place to belong, who don't feel like they have people around them, who don't feel like they have a place to be a part of. And so what would it look like for us to go out of our comfort zone a little bit and invite them into a place? And maybe it's at school, but also a place here, right? A place at Wake that you guys belong to, that you guys are a family. There's people in your school who are desperately longing for that. And I think that's really important to realize. Speaking on when you start following Jesus, maybe you have to leave some friends behind. That hits home for me. When I was a junior in high school is when I started following Jesus. And so the first 2 years of high school, I didn't follow Jesus. And so I got into the party scene, and I was with friends who were just partying. And that was my friend group. And so I started following Jesus, and I realized, man, those aren't the friends that are going to give me life. I started getting plugged into with a small group at Wake, and that's when I met my friends who I'm still best friends with to this day. But a lot of times when people do that, they leave those people behind, right? It's like, oh, okay, those are my pre-Jesus friends. These are my now Jesus friends. Yeah. What I think we need to do is not forget about those people, right? Maybe change the way they look in our lives, but not forget about them. Yeah. And so I realized that after a couple months of following Jesus in high school. And so I started a Bible study at my house, and I just invited them to come every week. I was just, hey, like, this is just a place where you can come, and we'll talk about Jesus, and we'll figure out this thing out together. And it took weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and months for them to finally come, but eventually 4 of them came to my house, and all 4 by the end of the year had given their lives to Jesus, which was incredible. And even a few of them even came to Wake and got plugged in. And so, man, all of that to say, like, don't give up on people. Don't give up on people. Just because they're part of your pre-Jesus life doesn't mean they can't be a part of your now Jesus life, and that they're not longing for the same life change that you had. So
that's really cool. I love that. That's really cool. What about so we've been talking about what would it look like? Okay, so each and every week, or a lot of times we talk about, we want you to take what you hear here and begin to live it out in your everyday. And there's one really practical way that students, that you can be a part of living out what you learn here at Wake, and that's through serving each week here at Stonecreek. On Sunday mornings, many of you serve here on Sunday mornings. Maybe it's helping greet people as they come in the doors. Maybe it's serving with our kids ministry, serving as a high schooler, leading middle schoolers at Rise on Sunday mornings as well. Some serve down our kids' hallways in different environments. And one of the reasons why we challenge you to do that is because we know that there's great power of when you're able to take what you hear and begin to live that out as you give your time to serve people. What have been some of y'all's experiences with serving in the church and how that's got you to where you are today?
Yeah, I started serving here at Stonecreek when I was a junior in high school with kindergartners. And so I started with kindergarten, did that for a while. Then I went to 1st through 5th grade, did that for a while, and eventually I ended up in student ministry. And I mean, it changed my life, right? It showed me that I wanted to do ministry. That's what I belonged in. It also showed me, man, it gave me a glimpse into what Jesus did for me, right? Jesus says that he came to not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. And so I realized through serving that my life isn't about me, and my time isn't about me, and my faith isn't about me. It's about Jesus. And so how can I take everything that God's done in my life and give that away so that somebody else can experience something similar? And so, I mean, serving's a game changer for your faith, for sure.
That's cool. I love that.
Yeah, I know for me, I didn't start volunteering in church until I was in college, and it was just dumb why I waited so long. I kind of had that mentality that I was just like, oh, I'll do it when I'm older. I'll do it when I'm like an adult. I'll do it when I have the right education or whatever. But then one of the pastors of the church pulled me aside. He's like, hey, how come you're not volunteering? Like, my little brother who's in high school was volunteering.
Yeah.
Like, I was doing nothing. And I was always like, oh, I'm busy and all this stuff. And I just had this mentality, like, I'll do it later. And then he kind of was just like, but when is that later for you, right? Like, you said that before, Yeah. And finally, I was like, all right, fine. I'll just, do something. He plugged me in somewhere quick on, Sunday mornings. Wasn't even a huge time commitment. And, like, I absolutely loved it. I got to work with students and kids, and just it blew my mind how much I loved it, how much I got to invest in them. I mean, I certainly knew more than a third grader, right? So it was super easy to just talk to them and answer their questions and everything, and just pointing back to Jesus. I mean, I loved it so much to the point where I ended up changing my major in college so I could go into ministry.
That's awesome.
Now here I am, and you guys are stuck with me. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that like the majority of you, it's not like the majority of you are going to end up working for a church someday. Many of you will, I hope and pray. That would be awesome. But it's not like every single one of you are going to find yourselves like, hey, I'm going to be working for a church full time for the rest of my life, and I want to be just like Joe, Sean, Bailey, John. Like, this is what I want to do. But every single one of you can be a part of investing in the next generation coming behind you as you serve. Think about the adults that are sitting next to you, your small group leaders that you're with each and every week, okay? They are giving back their time to invest in you because they love you and they care about you, and they're here because they want to be here, because they care about where you're at and where you're going and investing into your life. And you can be a part of that on Sunday mornings when you say yes to serving with kids. You get to be their small group leader. When you say yes to serving in different environments here, you're being a part of living out what Jesus has called us to do each and every week. And it can be a game changer. It can be life-changing for you and for the people around you. So many of your leaders, I'm sure, would tell you this, that they learn so much. They oftentimes grow so much more in how they serve than what they even think that they are giving to you guys. That you teach them so much about life and about Jesus, and you help them grow as well as they come and give their time. So it's really, really cool, exciting about that. All right. Bailey, you have something really cool that we were talking about earlier when it comes to just doing random little things that can help just kind of show Jesus to people around you on like a daily or weekly basis. What is that? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so I really love writing a lot. I feel like that's just a gift that God's given me. And so over the years, like throughout middle school and high school and now, I've kind of discovered how God can use that gift of writing to really serve and love people.
Yeah.
So that kind of looks like just writing letters to people. So if someone comes and shares with me maybe something they're struggling with or a difficult time that they're going through, I can then go home and like write them a letter saying like, hey, I see you and I hear you and God hears you. And I just want you to know that I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
And that's just one way to, it's something small that actually serves really big.
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
Can be a part of something. You taking the time to 5 minutes to write down a note to someone can be maybe exactly what they've been looking for, hoping for throughout their week, that can just change everything that's going on. So it's really cool. A few weeks ago, so if y'all remember, we talked about this scripture, Acts 1:8, and we can pull it up on the screens. And Acts 1:8, it's these words that Jesus spoke to his followers just moments before. If you can remember part of the story, Jesus comes and he lives a perfect life, sinless life, and then he's crucified. And so that we could have a relationship with God, he takes on the sins of humanity so that we can have a relationship with God. He's crucified, buried. 3 days later, he rises from the grave, and he goes and appears to over 500 people over 40 days. And he begins to speak and let them know, hey, I'm alive. Like, y'all thought I was dead. Psych, I'm alive. And I told you I'd be alive. And he gives them some words. He gives them some a charge, a challenge, if you will, moments before he ascends to go back to heaven. And so these are some of his last words. And if they're his last words, they mean they're really, 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 really important words. And what's important to Jesus must be important to us. And this is what he says. He says, speaking to them and speaking to us, he says, you'll receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses, telling people about me everywhere in Jerusalem and throughout Judea and in Samaria and to the ends of the earth. And we talked about how Jerusalem is like your home. He's saying, hey, go to your home first, and you need to share Jesus with the people in your home and in your school and around you in your community. And then he says, branch out and go into Judea. That's your city and state, kind of expanding out into this bigger area. And then he says, Samaria, that's going to places that no one else wants to go, a little bit further away that people are like, nah, I don't feel like going there. It's too much of a hassle. I don't really like those people, care about them. He says, go there. And then to the ends of the earth, eventually branching out into each area, places that people aren't hearing about him. And so we talked about that, and then talked about how this spring break, as a student ministry, we're going to be a part of being able to live this out over spring break in different areas. And so middle schoolers, we talked about how we're going to be taking a trip down to Clarkston, Georgia. Where are my middle schoolers at?
Yeah.
Clarkston.
Guys, I promise you, going to Clarkston will change your life. I promise.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be life-changing. As you're able to see different cultures and see needs and see people that have been brought here from all across the world, and you're going to get to connect with them and love on them, have conversation with them, and see what our ministry partner Envision is doing. And we actually have Hillary Cheeseman in the house too. Hillary, y'all give it up for Hillary. Yeah. So Hillary is on mission. She is a missionary down in Clarkston, and so she's living there. That's how much she cares about living out what we talk about here. She's like, I'm going to go and live here in this area that may seem crazy to live in, and with people that a lot of people aren't even thinking about. It's not even on their radar, and she's living there, giving her time and everything, giving her life to these people. And you're going to get to see a glimpse into what her and her ministry do throughout the week there. And it's going to be super eye-opening, and it's going to be really, really powerful. You're not going to want to miss that. And then high schoolers, where y'all at? Yeah. Y'all are going to get to, you're going to have two options of trips. And so high schoolers, you're going to get the opportunity to go to Vegas. That's going to Las Vegas. Like, did y'all hear me say Las Vegas?
Las Vegas.
Which is really cool. And you're going to get to go to Las Vegas, and we're going to go there, and we're going to be partnering with a church there that we've been supporting for a long time to reach people that most people aren't even reaching, to reach people that most people have given up on, have said, no, they're too crazy, too messed up, too jacked up for me to even think about or care about. And we're going to go to this area where so many people are in need, and so little people are going to reach them and love on them and serve them. And then Belgium, we got juniors and seniors in high school. You're going to be able to go to Belgium, and Belgium, where we're going to be going, and we're launching a church there, and it's a country that's less than 1% knows Jesus, and so we're going to bring light into this dark place, this dark area, and go and love on what's in this capital, the hub for this entire country, and go after big impact there. It's going to be really, really crazy. And so we told you about this, okay? and we've asked you to sign up. But tonight, I want to just spend a couple minutes telling you guys just quick stories of why you actually need to sign up, like how it can change your lives. Because each of us, our lives have been changed by going on trips just like this. And we need you to understand that it will change your life, and you need to really consider maybe dropping some plans that you have, changing plans, shifting plans, so that you can be a part of our spring break mission trips. And so tell me this, how has going on a mission trip maybe changed your life briefly, and why should our students sign up to be a part of it?
Yeah, I mean, so I wouldn't know Jesus if I didn't go on a mission trip. So,
Wow,
I mean,
wow.
pretty life-changing.
That's crazy.
I mean, my life would look drastically different. So
Yeah.
I went to Africa my junior year of high school, and my life changed forever. I came to know Jesus. Been in Guatemala like 10 times since, because the reason is, like, God does something different when you're on mission. He does something different when you're able to get out of your own comfort zone, get out of the voices that you hear every day, the distractions that you're constantly around, and just get alone with him somewhere else. You're going to hear him differently than you ever have. Like, that's a promise. That's a guarantee. If you go on a mission trip, you will hear God speak to you in a different way than you ever have. I promise you that, because that's what he does. And so, I think the reason that you guys need to sign up is because, I just think back, like, I'm like 7, 8 years out of that, right? So 10 years, right? So just think 10 years. Am I going to look back at a beach trip with my friends and family and be like, man, that was a life-changing week? Like, it was incredible. My life changed forever. No, I'm not going to. I'll be like, oh yeah, I got sunburned. It was great, right? But in 10 years, will I look back at a trip on a mission trip? I can tell you that for the rest of my life, I'm going to look back on the mission trip that I took, because it changed the course of my life. It changed my life forever. And so, like, the reason you should sign up, because there is a potential that your life could change forever if you do. I promise that's not going to happen at the beach, right? It's just not. But this is the chance for you to experience God in a way that you've never experienced him, and allow him to change your heart more than he ever has. So, I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I went on 3 trips overseas, and each trip, I thought the coolest thing was that God really revealed something different to me on each one. I think that's something cool that he does. Jesus changes your life in new ways. And so the first time I went to Guatemala, I encountered the power of prayer, and it changed my prayer life forever.
Yeah.
And I went back a year later, and then I really finally started to understand how deeply God loves us. I was just so moved on that trip. And it stuck with me since. And then my freshman year of college, I went to Jamaica, and I just learned that God speaks to all of us differently, that he desires to speak to us, and like we can hear him in different ways. And so that's how mission trips have changed my life, is because I've learned something new about God's character every single time, and it's pulled me into a closer, more intimate relationship with him.
Yeah.
So I guess I would leave you guys with a challenge to step out of what's kind of more like normal and known here, and into something that's unknown and unseen somewhere else.
Yeah,
That's good.
that's really cool. Yeah, because it's when you do that, when you get out of what's normal, what's known, that then God begins to teach you something new about who he's wired you to be. I wouldn't be up here personally if it wasn't for the first mission trip I ever went on to Buffalo, New York, as a freshman in high school, and I stood on a stage in front of some kids, and I was able to open up the Bible and preach my first message I ever preached, and it was there that God awoken something in me that then I was like, oh my goodness, wait, has he like called me to do this? Has he wired me to do this? And it changed my life. I wouldn't be up here today if it wasn't for my first mission trip and second, third. That changed my life forever. And so students, you need to be a part of going on these trips this spring break. And so I think we've got a screen to kind of show you guys how you can do that. You can text this number that we've got up here in just a moment. And you can also, and you can express interest there. Once you express interest, then we're going to reach out to you with more information to let you know, okay, these are the exact details, how much the trip costs, what is it going to look like, all of those different things. And then you can also go on, if you go on our Instagram, there's a link in our bio and on our website as well, stonecreek.church/wake. There's information on there for your parents and for you so that you can know more about what that looks like. Guys, we want to be a church. We want to be a group of students, a movement that knows what it looks like to actually elevate the name of Jesus in our own circles, in our own communities, in our own schools, in our own homes, and around the world. And that's a way that you're going to be able to live this out this spring break. Super excited for that. You're not going to want to miss out on it. what we're going to do right now is we're going to go into a really cool time where we actually are going to pack these boxes that we've been talking so much about.
Come on.
Full of gifts
gonna
and
be
the
so
message
good.
of Jesus. And
gonna be
so
amazing.
this
So
is
much
what
fun.
we're going to do. In just a moment, I'm going to pray, and then we're going to get dismissed. If y'all need to go out there, y'all give it up for Sean, Bailey, and John.